In the summer of 1936, the city of Berlin had put on its best face as host of the Olympic Games.
Berlin was a lovely city. It was it was a happy city at that time. It was more attractive as a city for me than were London or Paris.
In a world still plagued by the Depression, the capital of Nazi Germany was thriving.
The Nazis used the Olympic Games of 1936 to try to project a positive image of the new Germany, to translate the athlete's success into the success of National Socialism.
During the Olympics, the uglier side of Hitler's National Socialism was kept under wraps.
There was no outward sign of anti-Semitism. There were no signs that were reported later on, of course. Jews and dogs forbidden. I never saw that sign during the Games.
But the glittering surface of the international Olympic spirit could not completely obscure a darker reality. Marty Glickman and Sam Stoller were members of the American relay team.
The morning of the day we were supposed to run, we were told, Sam and I, that we were not going to run. No fit American track and field athlete has ever not competed in the Olympic Games, except Sam Stoller and me, the only two Jews on the track team.
Marty Glickman is convinced it was politics that kept him out of competition. He believes the American Olympic Committee did not want to embarrass Hitler by having Jews stand on the winner's podium. Almost everything at the Olympics seemed to be going Hitler's way. In event after event, German victories appeared to support his notion of Aryan racial superiority. But then came the 100 meters. The hopes of the American team rested on the son of an Alabama sharecropper, Jesse Owens.
I was standing 10 yards behind Hitler. Hitler, hearing the name Jesse Owens, angrily pushed back his chair and with a deep growl on his face, walked right past me and walked out.
In that tense summer of 1936, Owens went on to win 4 gold medals.
The competition was grand, and we're very glad to come out on top. Thank you very kindly.
There were other American victories, but Germany won far more medals than any other nation, and with the 11th Olympiad, Hitler had pulled off an international success. For the rest of the decade, it was not his athletes, but his soldiers who challenged the world. As Hitler, with ever greater boldness, threatened his neighbors, the rest of Europe and Britain stood by incredulous. America, safe on the other side of the ocean, was still worried about the Depression.
I see 1/3 of a nation ill-housed, ill-clad, ill-nourished.
January 1937. The clouds of the Great Depression still hovered over Franklin Roosevelt at his second inauguration.
I see millions whose daily lives in city and on farm continue under conditions labeled indecent half a century ago.
The president thought that in order to lift the nation's spirits, he had to make the country face the economic crisis head-on, together. And he used a battery of newly available mass media to do that. The government hired photographers to capture the faces of the Great Depression.
other government has ever done this.
Carl Meidens, just 28 at the time, was among those who set out with their cameras.
The 35mm camera became the heart of the new age of photography. That is, the new age of photojournalism. What moved me greatly was their spirit. They simply were proud of the fact that they could live in the circumstances and still be solid citizens. We photographers were pretty skillful. One could not look at those pictures about what was happening in the country and not be affected by them.
These photographs were all over the new magazines, Life chief among them.
I can remember as a kid running home from school on the day that Life came to get that copy before my brothers got home and take it to my room so I could look at it first. It was as if the whole world was opening up in those pictures. And that magazine changed the way we saw the world.
The United States Supreme Court today handed down its long-awaited...
At a time when people were desperate for news, radio, more immediate and more trusted than newspapers, became America's favorite way to keep up with events.
Maritime labor leaders declared today that...
The man who really discovered radio to use it on a massive scale which made history was FDR. He found in order to be able to reach the citizenry, he could use radio. And that was the beginning of the fireside chats.
Our capacity is limited only by our ability to work together.
He made the difference. People would be glued to their radios all over the country to find out from this man what's happening, what's going on, when can we get work, when will things change?
And just as he understood the power of the still photograph and radio, Roosevelt also saw the newsreel as a way to pull the nation together.
Boulder Dam put into operation. Giant spurts of water.
Always there was something in there. A dam was being built, or a river was being curved,
colossal Triborough Bridge is formally opened by President
or a plant was being reopened, or some invention was being announced. There was something good going on. Roosevelt made the White House an amplifier of all that the government was trying to do.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
5 years of information through the radio and the moving picture have taken the whole nation to school in the nation's business. We have learned to think as a nation. We have learned to feel ourselves a nation.
Ein Volk, ein Reich, ein Wille und eine schönere deutsche Zukunft.
In Germany, too, the new mass media were part of the national myth-making machine. Joseph Goebbels, as Hitler's Minister of Enlightenment and Propaganda, controlled the printed press and exploited the power of pictures and sound.
Nicht der Staat hat uns geschaffen, sondern wir...
At Goebbels' direction, the government put loudspeakers in the streets and made cheap radios available to every shop, school, and home. Every German was now within the sound of Hitler's voice.
To have a real radio now, that was fantastic. Every day there were political programs or so, and I learned a lot from the radio. I thought it was great, but father thought it was one of the main weapons now of brainwash.
Propaganda films promoted a glorious Germanic world of tomorrow.
We were told that we were the top nation on earth. We were the chosen people. We were the Herrenrasse, as we called it, the master race. And that we were more intelligent and better looking and stronger than all the others. And that it was our God-given duty to force our life onto all the others.
To glorify the master race on film, Hitler's choice was Germany's preeminent filmmaker Fritz Lang. Lang, sensing the time when one could say no to the Führer had passed, left for Paris. The powerful film propaganda post would go to Hitler's second choice, director Leni Riefenstahl. Her film, Triumph of the Will, used the 1934 Nazi Party Congress as a vast backdrop designed to make Hitler look like a god.
Military music was played and he marched down the center aisle, flanked by heaven knows how many gorgeously uniformed creatures. And then he would go behind the lectern, standing there, silent, waiting, until the tension rose. And then he would start.
Der 6. Parteitag der Bewegung geht zu Ende. Was für Millionen Deutsche, die außerhalb unserer Reihen stehen,
slowly revving up,
das große persönliche und geistige Treffen der alten Streiter als
until he finally reached a tremendous pitch.
Mannhof war, jede Führung zu behalten, wahrzunehmen und nicht erst abzugeben. In ihrer Organisation stahlhart.
If you sat in an audience like that, you were swept along.
Die Jugend ist uns verschrieben und verfallen mit Leibmitgliedern.
Never before had mass communication been more effective. Never before had it been used with more sinister intent.